You arrive at the southern entrance to the Philosopher's Path, just as the afternoon light starts its transformation into something gentler, warmer, more forgiving. The angle of the sun has changed. No longer the bright directness of midday, but something slanted and golden, filtering through the canopy of cherry trees that line this famous walkway. The path stretches ahead of you, a narrow stone way that follows the Shishigatani Canal. This is Tetsugaku no Michi, the path of philosophy. And you understand immediately why it earned this name. There's something about the combination of elements, water, stone, trees, light, that creates a natural invitation to let the mind settle. The canal runs shallow but steady, its water dark and clear, moving with unhurried purpose. You can hear it even before you step onto the path proper, a liquid whisper that seems to promise that here, for these next 2 kilometers, time moves differently. Small weirs create gentle waterfalls every 100 meters or so, their sound a constant white noise that masks the distant traffic of Kyoto beyond the trees. The water's voice changes as you walk, sometimes a whisper, where it runs smooth over sand, sometimes a small laugh where it tumbles over stones, always present, but never intrusive. Above you, the sakura trees create a tunnel of blossoms. It's that precious time in spring when the cherry trees are at their peak, though perhaps just beginning to let go. The Japanese have a word for this: sakura fubuki, cherry blossom snow, when the petals begin their gentle fall. Even now, a breeze stirs the branches and releases a handful of petals that drift down like pale pink snowflakes, some landing on the path, others settling on the water's surface, where they float like tiny boats, carrying invisible wishes downstream. The water beside you has found its rhythm, 3 beats that repeat endlessly. A splash where it meets a stone, a whisper as it runs over sand, another splash. Splash, whisper, splash. Without trying, your breathing begins to mirror this pattern. The exhale comes naturally with the splash. The inhale fills the whisper. Your footsteps join this rhythm too, though you're not counting or trying. Your body has simply found the canal's tempo and matched it. The stones beneath your feet are worn smooth by countless visitors over countless seasons. Some are the original stones from when this path was created in the early 20th century. Others are newer additions, but all have been polished by time and footsteps into a comfortable smoothness. Your pace naturally slows to match the environment. There's no need to hurry here. The path is only about 2 kilometers long, but it's meant to be walked slowly, contemplatively, allowing each turn to reveal itself in its own time. Other visitors are beginning to leave as evening approaches. A couple passes you, going the opposite direction, speaking in soft voices, their words indistinct, but their tone peaceful, satisfied. An elderly man with a walking stick nods as you pass, his face serene beneath a worn cap. A family with young children is gathering their things from a bench, the parents gently corralling their offspring, who want to throw one more handful of petals into the water. Their voices fade as they move away, and gradually you find yourself increasingly alone on the path. The temperature is perfect, That ideal spring evening when the air holds just enough of the day's warmth but carries a cooling promise of the night to come. You can feel it on your skin, this transition, the way the air seems to thicken slightly as the sun lowers, holding scents more closely. There's the green smell of the canal, fresh and slightly mineral. The sweet fragrance of cherry blossoms, subtle but persistent. And underneath it all, that particular scent of old stone and moss that speaks of age and patience. You pause at one of the small bridges that cross the canal. These bridges are mostly for maintenance, simple structures of wood or stone, but each offers a different perspective on the water's flow. Leaning against the railing, you let yourself truly stop, for the first time since arriving. The water below moves in patterns you hadn't noticed while walking. Near the center of the canal, the current runs smooth and quick, a dark ribbon unbroken, except where a submerged stone creates a small bulge in the surface. But near the edges, everything changes. Here the water slows, turns back on itself, creates tiny whirlpools that catch the cherry petals and hold them spinning. One petal, perfectly pink against the dark water, rotates slowly clockwise, then pauses as if thinking, then begins again. Another has caught against a twig and trembles there, neither advancing nor retreating, just trembling with the water's pulse. You watch one particular petal break free from an eddy and rejoin the main current. It moves in stops and starts, rushing forward, pausing in a quiet spot, spinning once, then continuing. It's hypnotic, this individual journey within the larger flow. Your eyes follow it until it passes under the bridge beneath your feet, and you find yourself moving to the other side to watch it emerge, still traveling, still perfect, carrying its small pink light downstream. The sound here is different too. From the path, the canal is one continuous whisper. But from directly above, you hear the layers. The gulp and giggle where water meets the bridge supports. The higher tinkling where it runs over pebbles near the bank. The deeper satisfaction of the main channel. Your breathing has slowed without your noticing, matching something in this rhythm. Inhale as the water gathers in a pool. Exhale as it releases forward. Inhale, gather. Exhale, release. The light continues its evolution. What was gold becomes amber. What was amber edges toward rose. The cherry blossoms seem to glow in this light, as if lit from within. The air touches your skin differently now, like silk rather than cotton, carrying a coolness that makes you aware of your own warmth. Shadows that were sharp-edged at your arrival have softened into watercolor suggestions across the path. You continue walking, and the synchronization deepens. The canal has become your breathing teacher, patient and constant. Where the water runs faster over a small weir, your breath quickens slightly to match, then slows again as the canal returns to its steady flow. There's no effort in this. Your body knows how to breathe with water, some ancient memory of tides and rivers and rain. Each breath releases something, some small tension you didn't know you were holding. Your shoulders drop on an exhale as the water splashes, Your jaw softens on an inhale as it whispers. The path curves gently, following the canal's meandering route. This isn't a straight line between 2 points, but a journey that respects the natural contours of the land. There are places to rest, small clearings where benches invite contemplation, gaps in the trees that frame distant views of the eastern mountains. These pauses are as important as the path itself. A small shrine appears on your right, set back from the path among the trees. It's one of several along the route, modest structures that seem to grow from the landscape rather than being imposed upon it. Someone has left fresh flowers in a bamboo vase, and incense still smoulders in a brass bowl, its smoke rising straight up in the still air. You don't need to understand the specific religious significance to feel the sense of reverence here. The accumulation of prayers and wishes that seems to permeate the wood and stone. The canal beside you has been flowing here for over a century, its original purpose long since dissolved into pure beauty. Water that once served the urgent needs of a modernizing city now serves nothing but peace. Moss grows on the stone edges, where engineers once measured and calculated. Small fish live where industry once flowed. Time has transformed intention into something softer. The way it transforms all things. Sharp edges worn smooth, purposes forgotten, leaving only the essential. Water flowing as water has always flowed, carrying petals now instead of progress. You notice the small details now, things that might have been missed in the brightness of day, or the busyness of a crowded path. The way moss grows on the north side of the stone lanterns, creating a soft green carpet. The roots of the cherry trees, some visible above ground, creating natural sculptures as they reach for water. The small fish that dart in the shallows, dark shapes against the sandy bottom. A stone marker with weathered kanji that might tell a story if you could read it. But even unread, it adds to the sense of accumulated history, of stories layered upon stories. The sounds around you have shifted as the evening deepens. The birdsong of afternoon has given way to different voices, the evening chorus of swallows catching insects above the water, the distant temple bells marking the hour, the soft splash of a frog entering the canal. Even the sound of your own footsteps seems different now, softer, as if the approaching night has laid a blanket of quiet over everything. You pass under a particularly large cherry tree, its branches extending over both path and canal. This must be ancient, its trunk thick and gnarled, its branches supported in places by wooden crutches carefully wrapped in cloth to protect the bark. You stop here, completely. Not pausing, not slowing, but stopping. Standing directly beneath it, you look up through the canopy of blossoms at the darkening sky. The petals above create a ceiling of pale pink lace, each flower catching the last light differently. Some glow as if lit from within. Others have already shifted to shadow, becoming dark stars against the luminous ones. The branches create patterns within patterns, the thick major limbs dividing the sky into sections, the smaller branches creating finer divisions, the twigs holding individual clusters of blooms like offerings. A breeze moves through, so gentle you feel it first as sound, a whisper that starts at one edge of the tree and travels across above you. Then the petals respond, not falling but trembling, and the whole canopy becomes a living thing, breathing above you. A few petals release, But they don't fall straight down. They spiral, each one taking its own path through the air. One lands on your shoulder, weightless as a thought. Another drifts past your face so close you feel the tiny shift in air it creates. You stand there breathing with the tree. Your inhale seems to draw the branches slightly lower. Your exhale releases them back up. It's an illusion, of course, but a gentle one, the kind that doesn't need correcting. Time has done something strange here, stretched and compressed simultaneously. You might have been standing here for seconds or minutes. It doesn't matter. The tree has been here for decades, perhaps a century. All the people who have stood in this spot before you, all who will stand hereafter. This moment contains all those moments. The path begins to feel like a river itself, flowing between banks of trees, carrying you forward without effort. You're not walking so much as being walked, your body finding its own way while your mind is free to wander or rest as it chooses. As you continue, you notice how the failing light transforms everything. Colors become more subtle, edges softer. The distinction between path and garden, water and land, self and surroundings, begins to blur in the most comfortable way. You're not lost but found, not confused but clarified. The path holds you, guides you, asks nothing of you but your presence. The cherry petals continue their slow fall, each one taking its own spiraling path from branch to ground or water. They're beautiful, precisely because they're temporary, precious because they won't last. Each petal's journey is complete in itself. The release from the branch, the dance through air, the gentle landing. There's no struggle, no resistance, just this graceful surrender to the evening breeze. The rhythm has slowed now, as evening deepens. The water moves more quietly in the growing darkness, and your breath has followed it into something deeper, more settled. Each exhale seems to last longer. Each inhale draws in not just air but the peace of the approaching night. The canal will flow on through the darkness, and somewhere in your body you understand that your breath will continue too, following this gentle teacher into sleep. The path ahead curves again, disappearing behind a grove of bamboo that whispers in the evening breeze. You can't see what's beyond the curve, but that doesn't matter. The journey is the destination here. Each step is complete in itself, each breath sufficient, each moment whole. As you round the bend, the light has shifted once more, now more blue than gold, that particular quality of dusk that photographers call the blue hour. The cherry blossoms have transformed from pink to pearl, ghostly beautiful in the gathering darkness. The first stars are beginning to appear in the strip of sky visible between the trees, and somewhere in the distance you hear the evening call to prayer from a temple, its bronze voice carrying across the old city. You are exactly where you need to be, when you need to be there. The philosopher's path has worked its quiet magic, transforming an ordinary evening walk into something more profound. Your body feels both lighter and more grounded, your mind both clearer and more comfortable with mystery. The path continues ahead, and you continue with it, carried forward by nothing more and nothing less than the simple grace of placing one foot in front of the other. following this ancient way, as darkness gently gathers around you. The path releases you at the entrance to Ginkakuji, where stone steps rise gently between tall hedges that have been trimmed into perfect walls of green. The transition from the naturalistic beauty of the canal path to this controlled precision is subtle but profound. Here, every element has been considered, every view carefully composed. The hedges guide your vision forward and upward, creating a sense of anticipation for what lies beyond. You climb the steps slowly, each one worn smooth in the center, where countless feet have passed. The sound of the canal fades behind you, replaced by a different quality of quiet. Not the absence of sound, but a careful curation of it. You can hear the soft crunch of gravel from another path, the distant whisper of bamboo, the particular silence that surrounds places of contemplation. At the top of the steps, the temple grounds open before you. The first thing you see is the famous sand garden, and it stops you completely. In the fading light, the white sand seems to glow with its own luminescence, as if it has been storing sunlight all day and is now gently releasing it back into the evening. The sand has been raked into perfect parallel lines that curve and flow like frozen waves, each ridge catching shadows that emphasize the pattern. At the garden's center rises the Kogetsudai, a perfect cone of sand meant to reflect moonlight, though the moon has not yet risen. Even without its celestial partner, the sand mountain is mesmerizing. Its surface has been meticulously smoothed, each grain precisely placed. In this light, it appears almost blue-white, like snow that has never been touched. You stand at the garden's edge, not wanting to disturb even the air around such perfection. The silver pavilion itself stands to your left, a two-story structure of aged wood that has weathered to a deep grey-brown. Despite its name, it was never actually covered in silver. The intention was there, but history intervened, and somehow the absence became part of its beauty. The building seems to float above its reflection in the pond that surrounds it, the real and the reflected so perfectly aligned that it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. You move along the covered walkway that borders the sand garden, your footsteps hollow on the wooden boards. The wood is old, polished by time and care to a deep glow. Your hand finds the railing, and the surface is impossibly smooth, worn down by countless other hands seeking the same support, the same connection to something solid and enduring. The walkway leads to a wooden veranda overlooking the pond garden, and here you stop, drawn by the view. The pond is larger than it first appeared, irregular in shape, with small islands connected by stone bridges. The water is dark and still, a perfect mirror for the sky above, which has now shifted from blue to a deep lavender grey. But the surface isn't completely still. There's movement beneath. You settle onto the veranda, finding a spot where a wooden pillar provides a backrest. The boards beneath you are worn smooth, with a slight depression where many others have sat before. As your eyes adjust to looking into the water rather than at its surface, shapes emerge from the darkness. Koi, moving slowly through their liquid world, appearing and disappearing like thoughts at the edge of consciousness. One rises near the surface and you see it clearly. A large fish, white and orange, its fins trailing like silk scarves. It moves with no apparent effort, a slight wave of its tail sending it gliding forward. Another joins it, this one darker, almost black with spots of gold that catch the last light. They swim past each other without acknowledgement, each following its own mysterious path through the pond. The movement of the fish creates ripples, gentle disturbances that spread across the surface. These ripples catch the reflected sky and scatter it into fragments of color, purple, pink, silver, before the surface settles again into stillness. It's hypnotic, this constant play between movement and stillness, reflection and reality. The air here is different from the path. Where the canal carried the fresh scent of flowing water and cherry blossoms, here the air is older, more complex. There's the green smell of pond water, rich with life. The scent of moss that grows on the stone lanterns and bridge supports, earthy and ancient. And, pervading everything, the smell of aged wood, a dry sweetness that speaks of centuries of weather and care. Your breathing has found a new rhythm here, slower even than on the path. The pond seems to breathe with you, or perhaps you're breathing with it. Inhale, and the surface seems to expand slightly. Exhale, and it contracts. The koi rise and fall with this rhythm, surfacing on exhales, diving on inhales, as if the whole garden is participating in one great slow breath. A sound draws your attention upward. In the trees that surround the pond, birds are settling for the night. You can hear their small movements, the rustle of feathers, the soft chirps as they communicate about roosting spots. A crow calls once, harsh against the gentleness, then falls silent. Behind you, other parts of the garden extend up the hillside. But here on the veranda, the pond is your entire world. The wooden railing in front of you frames the view like a picture, but it's a picture that moves and breathes. Another koi surfaces, this one pure white like a ghost fish, visible for just a moment before sinking back into the depths. The pines around the pond are masterpieces of patience. Each one has been shaped over generations, branches trained and supported, growth directed with infinite care. Some lean over the water at impossible angles, their branches creating shadows on the surface that look like calligraphy. Others stand straight and tall, their tops pruned into clouds of green. In this light, they're shifting from green to black, becoming silhouettes against the darkening sky. You notice the smallest details now, the way moss grows on the north side of everything, stones, tree trunks, even the wooden posts of the veranda. The particular pattern of weathering on the wood, grain raised by years of rain and sun. A spiderweb in the corner where the railing meets a post, perfect in its geometry, beaded with moisture that makes it visible. The temperature has dropped subtly, not cold, but cool enough that you're aware of your own warmth. The air moves differently as evening progresses, small currents that you feel on your face and hands. Sometimes it carries a hint of incense from somewhere deeper in the temple grounds, a whisper of sandalwood that appears and vanishes. Then it comes, the first temple bell of evening. The sound seems to rise from the earth itself, deep and resonant, a bronze voice that speaks of time and eternity. The vibration travels through the wooden structure of the veranda, through the boards beneath you, into your body. You feel it in your chest, your bones, a physical sensation as much as a sound. The bell rings 3 times, each strike separated by long moments of reverberating silence. With each ring, the vibration spreads like ripples on water, out across the garden, across the city, touching everything with its bronze benediction. Other temples answer, their bells creating a conversation across Kyoto, some near, some far, some so distant they're felt more than heard. As the last vibration fades, the garden seems different. Deeper somehow, more settled into evening. The koi have slowed their movements, sinking toward the bottom of the pond where they'll spend the night. The sky has darkened another degree, and the first star has appeared, reflected perfectly in the still water. You shift slightly on the veranda, finding an even more comfortable position against the pillar. Your body has cooled to match the evening temperature, no longer holding the day's warmth, but perfectly balanced with the air around you. The boundary between you and the garden has softened. You're not observing it anymore, but participating in it, another element in its careful composition. The silver pavilion has faded into shadow, just a darker shape against the dark trees. But the sand garden still glows faintly, holding the last memory of light. Soon it will shine again when the moon rises, but for now, it rests in this in-between time, neither day nor night. A subtle sound, footsteps on gravel, reminds you that others are here, though you cannot see them. Temple caretakers, perhaps, making their evening rounds, checking that all is as it should be. The sound fades, and you're alone again with the pond and the gathering night. The wooden boards beneath you have absorbed the day's warmth, and now release it slowly, creating a gentle warmth against the cooling air. You lean back fully against the pillar, letting it support your weight completely. Everything unnecessary has fallen away. There's only this: the pond, the night, the slow breath of the garden, and you, perfectly placed within it, ready for whatever comes next in this gentle descent into darkness. The wooden veranda releases you gently, your body having found its own moment to move. You rise slowly, joints soft from stillness, and follow a narrow stone path that curves away from the pond, leading upward into the temple's upper garden. The stones beneath your feet are different here, irregular, naturally shaped, placed with deliberate spacing that creates a rhythm of attention. Each step requires a small awareness, a gentle negotiation with the ground. The path winds between tall hedges that gradually give way to more open woodland. Ancient maples spread their branches overhead, their leaves black against the deep purple sky. These trees have been here for centuries, their trunks thick and gnarled, bark deeply furrowed like the faces of old mountains. Some lean at angles that seem impossible, supported by wooden crutches wrapped in rope, testament to the Japanese devotion to preserving life, even in its most fragile forms. You find yourself in a small clearing where the path widens slightly. Here, almost hidden among the maple roots and moss, stands a stone lantern. Not the decorative kind you might see in modern gardens, but something older, more elemental. The stone is rough granite, weathered by 500 years of seasons. Lichen grows in patches across its surface, grey-green, orange, white, a slow painting that nature has been working on for generations. The lantern is the perfect height to lean against, and you do, feeling the coolness of ancient stone through your clothes. The surface is not smooth, but pleasantly textured, tiny variations that your back can read like braille. You settle against it, letting the stone take your weight, and immediately feel a kind of grounding, as if you've connected to something that goes deep into the earth. From this spot, you can see back down toward the main temple buildings, though they're mostly shadow now. But more importantly, you can see how the garden has been composed. Every tree, every stone, every curve of the path has been placed with intention. Yet it doesn't feel forced or artificial. The tremendous effort required to create something that appears effortless. This is the garden's quiet mastery. Your hand reaches down to touch the moss beneath the maples, and the sensation stops all other thought. It's cool against your palm, cooler than the air, as if it holds its own private climate close to the earth. Each fingertip registers a slightly different texture. Your index finger finds the velvet cushion moss, so soft it barely feels solid. Just a suggestion of substance that yields completely to the lightest pressure. Your middle finger discovers the fern moss, more structured, with tiny fronds that tickle against your skin like miniature trees against a giant's hand. The moisture is subtle but present, not wet, but damp in the way of forest floors, transferring the faintest coolness to your skin. You press gently, and the moss compresses, then springs back with extraordinary slowness, as if operating on plant time rather than human time. The sensation travels up your arm. The coolness, the softness, the aliveness of it. You notice your breathing has slowed to match the moss's patient spring back. Press on the exhale. Release on the inhale. The moss seems to breathe with you. Or perhaps you're learning to breathe like moss, slowly, completely, with no urgency whatsoever. A drop of evening dew transfers from a moss frond to your thumb. A perfect, tiny sphere of coolness that sits on your skin without breaking. You watch it catch the last light. A whole sky captured in a droplet, until it finally spreads and absorbs, leaving only a small, cool spot that gradually warms to match your skin. The stone you're leaning against has been here since the temple's founding, 500 years of seasons written in its surface. Your fingers find a crack running through it, not from damage, but from the natural forces of freeze and thaw, expanding and contracting with infinite patience. The crack has filled with moss over the decades, creating a soft green seam that your fingertip traces. The moss here is different from the moss on the surface, finer, almost like velvet, growing in the protected space. The stone's temperature varies across its surface. Where the dying light touched it earlier, there's still a faint warmth, like the memory of sun held in granite. But the north side, where you're resting, is cool and slightly damp. You can feel the exact place where warm meets cool, a line of temperature that runs vertically along the lantern's edge. Your back finds the coolest spot naturally, the relief of it spreading through your shirt, through your skin, settling the last of the day's heat. The temple has stood here for 500 years, its silver covering never applied, the wood aging to this perfect grey. You think of all the seasons that have passed over this garden, thousands of springs, summers, autumns, winters, each one adding its particular weathering to stone and wood. The rain has pooled in the same depression in the stone path for centuries, wearing it into a shallow bowl that now holds a perfect circle of water, reflecting the darkening sky. The air has continued to cool, and you pull your layer closer. The maples above create a canopy that holds the day's warmth slightly longer than the open areas, creating a microclimate of comfort. Small sounds emerge from the darkness, the settling of wood as temples cool, the distant splash of a frog entering water, the whisper of leaves moving in currents of air too subtle to feel. Your breathing has become so slow and deep that you're barely aware of it. The stone at your back seems to breathe too, expanding and contracting with geological patience. Different scales of time exist here simultaneously. Your breath measured in seconds, the seasons in months, the trees in decades, the stones in centuries. All perfect in their own temporal rhythm. The darkness is nearly complete now, but your eyes have adjusted, and you can see in shades of grey and black. The garden has transformed into something more felt than seen. The texture of bark on the maple trunk nearby, the soft edge where moss meets stone, the barely visible path that continues upward into the trees. Everything has become more essential, reduced to its fundamental nature. You think about the generations of people who have sat in this spot, monks in meditation, artists seeking inspiration, gardeners resting from their work, visitors like yourself finding a moment of quiet. The stone has absorbed all these presences without judgment, offering its support equally to all. There's comfort in this continuity, this sense of being part of a long line of quiet observers. A sound brings you back to the immediate present, footsteps on the path below. Soft, measured, probably a temple caretaker making evening rounds. The sound passes without coming closer, leaving you undisturbed in your alcove of maples and moss. You're grateful for the solitude, for this gift of time and space to simply be present with the night and the garden. You shift against the stone lantern, searching for the perfect position, and find it suddenly. A shallow depression in the stone that seems made for your spine. Your back settles into it with a small sigh you didn't know you were holding. The weight that your muscles have been carrying all day begins to transfer to the stone, vertebra by vertebra. First your lower back releases, then the middle, then your shoulders drop in stages, left, then right, then both settling completely. The stone takes your weight without effort, has been waiting 500 years to provide exactly this support. Your head finds a spot where the stone curves just enough to cradle the base of your skull. The last tension in your neck dissolves. You're held now, completely, by something that will never tire, never shift, never require anything from you but this simple leaning. Your hand moves across the stone, feeling the variations in texture, the places worn smooth by other hands, the rough patches where the original chisel marks remain. The accumulated light of all the days it has stood here seems somehow present in the granite. Memories of sunshine and moonlight worn into its surface. Time has done something strange here in the darkness. You might have been sitting for minutes or hours. It doesn't matter. The garden exists in a perpetual present that includes all its past and future. The maples that will turn brilliant red in autumn, the snow that will cover everything in winter, the cherry blossoms of next spring, all implicit in this moment. The temple bell sounds again, more distant now, marking another division of the night. The sound rolls through the garden like a wave, touching every leaf, every stone, every surface of water, binding everything together in its bronze voice. The vibration travels through the stone lantern into your body, a gentle reminder of the continuity between all things. The stone against your back has warmed slightly where your body touches it, creating a perfect exchange of temperatures. Your warmth absorbed by granite, its coolness absorbed by you, until you can't distinguish where stone ends and you begin. A single leaf falls somewhere in the darkness, the softest possible sound as it touches the moss. Your breathing has become so quiet, so slow, that you can hear something that might be imagination or might be real. The almost inaudible whisper of moss growing, cells dividing in microscopic patience, adding another millimeter to the garden's soft green skin. Your eyes close, not from tiredness, but from completeness. There's nothing more to see, nothing more to understand. Only this: stone, moss, night, breath. The garden holds you in its ancient patience, and you rest here. One more temporary warmth against its permanent coolness. Perfectly balanced, perfectly still. Soon you'll rise and continue your journey through the temple grounds. But not yet. For now, there's only this perfect incompleteness, this beautiful impermanence, this moment that contains all moments. The garden teaches its wordless lessons through your skin, your breath, your settling bones. And you receive them all, without effort, without thought, simply by being here, held between earth and sky, between ancient stone and endless night. The stone lantern releases you gradually, your body having absorbed its patience and coolness. You rise slowly, muscles soft and quiet, and make your way back down through the temple gardens. The path is barely visible now, but your feet remember the way, finding each stone by feel rather than sight. The main gate appears as a darker rectangle against the dark sky, and you pass through it, leaving the temple's enclosed peace for the larger quiet of the Kyoto night. The street outside is narrow and residential, lined with walls of aged wood and stone. A streetlight casts a circle of yellow light every 50 meters or so, but between them the darkness is soft and complete. Your footsteps sound different here, a gentle tap on asphalt rather than the whisper of garden paths. The air carries new scents, someone's late dinner cooking, the green smell of potted plants watered for the night, a hint of incense from a household shrine. You turn down an even narrower lane, drawn by instinct rather than plan. This is the edge of Gion, where the modern city gives way to something older. The buildings change character. Lower, more traditional, their wooden facades dark with age. Some windows glow with warm light filtered through paper screens, creating rectangles of soft illumination that seem to breathe with the movement of people inside. The lane curves, and suddenly you're in old Kyoto. Machiya houses line both sides of the street, their wooden fronts rising directly from the narrow sidewalk. These townhouses have stood here for generations, their wood darkened to almost black, their second stories slightly overhanging the first in the traditional style. Bamboo screens cover some windows, while others are protected by wooden slats that filter the interior light into gentle lines across the street. The cobblestones beneath your feet are wet, though it hasn't rained. This is uchimizu, the old custom of sprinkling water in the evening to cool the air and settle the dust. The water brings out the scent of the stones, earthy, mineral, mixed with the faint sweetness of the wooden buildings. Your footsteps make a soft, wet sound, barely audible but somehow satisfying, like walking through a world still fresh from creation. Your footsteps on the wet stones create a rhythm that your breathing naturally follows. Step, step, inhale. Step, step, exhale. The cool air enters your lungs, carrying the scent of wet wood and stone. Leaves warm, carrying the last of your day's tensions. The night receives your breath as gently as the stones receive your steps. A paper lantern glows outside a doorway marked with a small wooden sign. The characters are unreadable in the darkness, but the lantern itself speaks clearly. This is an ochaya, a tea house where geisha entertain guests with conversation, dance, and music. The lantern casts a pool of amber light on the wet stones, creating a perfect circle of warmth in the cool darkness. You pass through this light and back into shadow, feeling the brief warmth on your face like a gentle greeting. The street opens slightly where a small stream crosses beneath it. The Shirakawa, a narrow waterway that has flowed through Gion for centuries. A low stone bridge spans the stream, its railings worn smooth by countless hands. You pause here, drawn by the sound of water over stones, different from the canal at the Philosopher's Path, lighter, more playful, almost musical. The railing is cool beneath your palms, polished stone that feels like silk worn solid. You lean into it, letting it take the weight of your chest, your breathing naturally deepening with this support. The stone has two distinct textures. Where hands have touched it for generations, it's smooth as glass. But underneath, where only rain reaches, it keeps its original roughness. Your fingers find both textures, smooth and rough, warm from the day and cool from the night. Looking down at the dark water, you begin to distinguish its voices. Where it flows over a flat stone, there's a whisper. Where it meets a rounded rock, a gurgle. Where it falls even a few centimeters, a tiny splash. Together they create a liquid music that seems to match your breathing. Inhale with the gurgle. Exhale with the splash. Pause with the whisper. Your breath and the water find each other's rhythm without effort. The stream is only a meter wide here, but it moves with purpose, catching fragments of light from the surrounding buildings. A restaurant on the waterside has placed lanterns along its deck, and their reflection creates pillars of light in the water, wavering with the current. Between these reflections, darkness moves like liquid shadow. You watch one particular swirl of light and dark as it travels beneath you. The pattern constantly changing but somehow constant, like breath itself, always different, always the same. Then you see them. Fireflies. First one. A tiny green spark above the water. There and gone so quickly, you're not sure it was real. Then another. And another. They seem to pulse with your heartbeat. Or perhaps your heartbeat has slowed to match their ancient rhythm. Soon there are dozens, each one lighting for just a moment before disappearing, creating a constellation that constantly reforms itself. The fireflies dance without pattern, or perhaps with a pattern too complex to follow. Their cold light beautiful against the warm glow of the lanterns. Then you realize what they're dancing to. It's music. Somewhere nearby, behind one of these closed doors, someone is practicing shamisen. The notes are soft, tentative, with occasional pauses, as if the player is reading music or remembering a sequence. The three-stringed instrument has a distinctive sound, percussive and melodic simultaneously, each note both struck and sung. The melody is slow, contemplative, perfectly matched to the fireflies' dance. You stand on the bridge, suspended between water and air, between light and dark, between sound and silence. Time moves differently here. The modern world feels very far away, though you know it's just a few streets over. This pocket of old Kyoto exists in its own temporal bubble, maintaining rhythms that haven't changed for centuries. A movement catches your eye. A cat walking along the top of a wooden fence with perfect balance. It's a tabby, grey-striped, moving with the confidence of one who owns these night streets. The cat pauses, looks at you with eyes that catch and reflect the lantern light, then continues on its way, disappearing into a gap between buildings too narrow for any human to follow. The air moves slightly, bringing new sounds. Wind chimes from a hidden garden, their notes random but somehow harmonious. The bamboo and metal create different tones, high and low, near and far, as if several gardens are contributing to an accidental orchestra. Beneath this, the constant whisper of the stream, the occasional splash of a frog, the distant hum of the night settling deeper. You leave the bridge reluctantly and continue deeper into Gion. The streets become narrower still, some barely wide enough for two people to pass. The machiya press close on either side, their upper stories nearly touching across the lane. It feels like walking through a tunnel of wood and shadow, intimate and protective. A doorway slides open ahead, and a figure emerges. Someone in kimono, the silk making a sound like whispered secrets as they move. The person passes you with a gentle nod, their face a soft blur in the darkness, their presence more felt than seen. The scent they leave behind is subtle but distinctive, a combination of incense, hair oil, and something floral. The sound of their getter sandals on the stones creates a rhythm, click-clack, click-clack, that fades gradually into the distance. In the wake of their passing, you stand completely still, breathing in the lingering scent trail. Your exhale seems to follow the sound of their getter. Click-clack with the breath out, silence with the breath in. The night air has become something you can almost taste. Complex, layered, carrying stories in every inhale. You turn another corner and find yourself in a tiny square where three lanes meet. In the center stands a small shrine, no bigger than a closet, its entrance marked by a miniature torii gate. Fresh flowers have been placed in a vase, and incense burns in a holder, the smoke rising straight up in the still air. A stone fox guardian sits beside the entrance, worn smooth by centuries of weather and touching, its expression both fierce and benevolent. The buildings around the square are a mix of uses, a restaurant with its Noren curtain pulled aside to show warm light within, a shop selling traditional sweets now closed for the night, a private residence with a perfectly maintained garden visible through an open gate. Each building maintains its wooden facade, creating a continuous surface of aged wood that seems to absorb light rather than reflect it. You notice details that would be invisible in daylight. The grain of the wood, raised by years of weather, creating patterns like frozen water. The way moss grows in the joints between stones, soft green against dark grey. The patina on a bronze door handle, worn bright in the center from countless hands. These small touches of use and age give the district its character, each mark a tiny piece of history. A bicycle leans against a wall, covered with a cloth against the evening dew. Potted plants line the entrance to a house. Bamboo, ferns, a small maple. Each pot is different, collected over years rather than bought as a set. A pair of shoes sits outside a door, placed precisely parallel, waiting for morning. The sounds of the district at night create a gentle symphony. Water dripping from eaves onto stones. The creak of wood cooling in the night air. A television's murmur from behind paper screens. The shuffle of slippers on tatami mats. A door sliding closed with a soft thunk. All of it combines into the sound of a neighborhood settling into sleep. You find yourself walking more and more slowly, each step deliberate and quiet. The district has drawn you into its rhythm. Unhurried, patient, accepting of the night. Your breathing has deepened to match this pace, each inhale drawing in the complex sense of the neighborhood, each exhale releasing you further into the quiet. Another turn brings you to a wider street, though still narrow by modern standards. Here, a few restaurants remain open, their entrances marked by lanterns and Noren curtains. Through one window, you glimpse the warm interior. A counter where a chef works quietly. Customers seated in comfortable solitude, the glow of polished wood and soft lighting. The scene is like looking through amber glass into another world, complete in itself. But you're drawn onward, deeper into the quiet parts of Gion. The commercial streets give way again to residential lanes. Here, the only lights are the occasional security lamp or the glow from a household shrine. Your eyes have adjusted completely to the darkness now, able to see in shades and shadows, reading the district through gradients of grey rather than light. A small park appears, just a widening of the street with a bench and a single tree. The tree is old, its trunk thick, its branches creating a canopy over the bench. You sit for a moment on the bench, feeling the cool wood through your clothes. Here, sheltered by the old tree, your breathing becomes almost invisible, so slow and quiet that you can hear the tree's leaves breathing too, inhaling when the breeze lifts them, exhaling as they settle. For several breaths, you and the tree share the same rhythm, the same air, the same perfect stillness. From here, you can see down 3 different lanes, each one dissolving into gradients of grey, each one promising its own quiet mysteries. The air has cooled to the perfect temperature, neither warm nor cold, just present. It moves occasionally, stirring the leaves above, bringing fragments of the district to you. A whiff of late-blooming jasmine, the distant scent of grilling fish, the clean smell of tatami from an open window. Each scent arrives and departs like a brief visitor, leaving only memory. The shamisen has stopped, but now there's another sound. Someone practicing shakuhachi flute. The bamboo instrument's breathy notes float over the rooftops, neither near nor far, seeming to come from the air itself. The melody is slow, meditative, with long pauses between phrases, as if the player is listening to the night between notes. You rise from the bench and continue walking, no longer following any particular direction, just moving through the district as water moves through channels, finding the path of least resistance, pooling in quiet spots, flowing on when ready. The streets all connect eventually, creating a maze that's impossible to be truly lost in. Each turn reveals another view, another composition of wood and stone and gathered darkness. The night has fully claimed Gion now. The last restaurants are closing, their lights dimming one by one. The district prepares for sleep, though it never fully sleeps. There will be movement all night. Cats on their hunts, early workers preparing for dawn, the eternal flow of the Shirakawa. But for now, in this moment, everything has found its perfect stillness. You've walked a circle without realizing it, arriving back at a familiar corner. The way forward is clear. One more turn, one more lane, and you'll find yourself on wider streets that lead toward your evening's rest. But you pause, taking one last breath of Gion's particular night air, one last moment in this pocket of preserved time. The wooden facades stand patient in the darkness, holding their stories close. The cobblestones rest wet and gleaming, ready for tomorrow's feat. The paper lanterns glow on, marking doorways to experiences you can only imagine. And you stand here, between one step and the next, perfectly balanced in the heart of the old district, carrying its quiet with you as you prepare to continue into the waiting night. Your breathing has become part of Gion's nighttime rhythm now. Slow, deep, patient as the old wood around you. Each breath connects you to this place, this moment, this perfect incompleteness. And with one final, satisfied exhale, you take that next step forward, ready for whatever peaceful rest awaits. The quiet streets of Gion release you gently, one turn at a time, back toward the Ryokan. Your feet know the way now, even in darkness. Left at the stone lantern, right where the bamboo fence begins. Straight past the small neighborhood shrine where a single candle still flickers behind glass. The transition from Gion's preserved beauty to the quieter residential streets happens gradually, like waking slowly from a dream you want to remember. The Ryokan appears as a warm glow at the end of the lane, its entrance marked by a simple wooden sign and a stone path lit by low lanterns. The building is traditional, 2 stories of dark wood and white plaster, its roof tiles gleaming faintly in the darkness. As you approach, the front door slides open before you reach it. The owner has been listening for footsteps, maintaining the old tradition of greeting guests before they need to announce themselves. She bows slightly, her smile warm but quiet, understanding that words would disturb the peace you're carrying. Her house slippers whisper against the polished floor as she leads you inside. The Genkan, the entrance area where shoes are removed, is lit by a single paper lantern. You slip off your shoes, feeling the cool wood beneath your socked feet, and step up into the Ryokan proper. The change in level is subtle but significant, a physical transition from the outside world to the protected inner space. The hallway stretches ahead, lit by soft lights behind shoji screens that create a gentle glow rather than direct illumination. The wooden floor has been polished by countless feet over decades, maybe centuries, until it gleams like dark honey. Each board fits perfectly against the next. No gaps, no creaks, just solid silence beneath your steps. The air inside is different from the street, warmer, stiller, scented with the faint sweetness of aged wood and fresh tatami. Your room is on the 2nd floor. The stairway is narrow and steep in the old style, each step worn smooth in the center. Your hand finds the railing, also polished by years of hands seeking the same support. The wood is silky under your palm, almost alive with warmth. As you climb, you can feel the building's age in the gentle give of each step, the way the whole structure moves subtly with your weight, flexible rather than rigid, designed to bend with earthquakes rather than break. At the top of the stairs, the hallway continues, even quieter than below. Other rooms line the corridor, but no sound emerges from behind their doors. Everyone here seems to understand the value of silence, the gift of not imposing your presence on others. Your room is at the end, its entrance marked by a small ceramic plate with a number written in elegant calligraphy. The shoji screen slides open with the faintest whisper of wood against wood. The room reveals itself in layers of simplicity. The tatami mats covering the floor glow pale gold in the soft light from a single paper lantern in the corner. Your futon has already been laid out in the center of the room, its white coverlet turned down invitingly, the pillow precisely placed. The sight of it brings an immediate sense of relief, as if your body recognizes home even in this unfamiliar place. The scent hits you next. The green, grassy smell of fresh tatami mixed with something deeper, warmer. In the tokonoma, the decorative alcove, a stick of sandalwood incense burns in a simple ceramic holder. The smoke rises straight up in the still air, then disperses into invisibility. Below it, a single flower arrangement. Just 3 elements. A branch of pine, a white camellia, a spray of winter grass. The arrangement speaks of the season, the moment, the impermanence of beauty. You step into the room and the tatami yields slightly under your feet. Not soft exactly, but responsive, acknowledging your weight while supporting it completely. The mats are woven from rice straw, and you can see the intricate pattern of the weaving, the way light and shadow play across the surface. Each mat is bordered with dark fabric, creating subtle divisions across the floor that are both functional and beautiful. The room is sparse by modern standards, but complete in every necessary way. A low writing desk sits beneath the window, a cushion for sitting, the futon for sleeping, the alcove for contemplation. Nothing extra, nothing missing. The walls are a combination of white plaster and dark wood beams, the contrast creating a sense of both shelter and spaciousness. Through the window, covered with shoji screens that have been slid partially open, you can see into a private garden. It's small, perhaps only 3 meters square, but carefully composed. A stone lantern stands unlit among ferns. Bamboo grows along one wall, its leaves rustling softly in the night breeze. And at the garden's heart, a small fountain. Just a hollow bamboo tube that fills with water, tips, empties with a soft clock against stone, then begins filling again. The sound of the fountain is hypnotic in its regularity. Fill, tip, clock. Fill, tip, clock. It's been marking time this way for longer than anyone remembers. A liquid metronome that needs no winding, no maintenance beyond the occasional adjustment of the water flow. The rhythm is slow, patient, calibrated to the rhythm of deep breathing. You find yourself unconsciously matching it. Inhale as it fills, exhale as it tips. Pause in the silence before it begins again. You move to the window, drawn by the garden's quiet magnetism. The night air coming through the opening is cool and carries the green scent of bamboo, the mineral smell of wet stone, the faintest hint of wood smoke from somewhere distant. Standing here, you can see how the garden has been designed to be viewed from exactly this spot. Every element positioned to create a complete composition from this single viewpoint. The bamboo moves in the breeze, creating shadows that dance across the gravel below. The gravel itself has been raked into patterns that are barely visible in the darkness, but still somehow present, like the memory of waves on a beach. A moth flutters past the window, drawn by the soft light from your room, its wings creating tiny whispers of sound against the night air. You turn back to the room, and your body suddenly announces its readiness for rest. The walking, the watching, the gentle accumulation of the evening's peace, all of it has prepared you for this moment. You move to the futon, kneeling first, then sitting, feeling the firm support of the tatami through the bedding. The futon is traditional, thinner than a Western mattress, but precisely calibrated to provide support without excess softness. Before lying down, you blow out the paper lantern, and the room transforms. Not into darkness, but into a different kind of light. The moon, which you hadn't noticed before, sends silver illumination through the shoji screens, creating soft bars of silver light across the floor. The garden is more heard than seen now. The fountain's rhythm, the bamboo's whisper, the occasional rustle of something small moving through the ferns. You lie back on the futon, feeling your body make contact with its surface in stages. Shoulders, spine, hips, legs. The pillow is filled with buckwheat hulls that shift and settle to cradle your head and neck exactly as needed. The coverlet is light but warm, settling over you like a whispered blessing. Beneath you, through the futon, through the tatami, you can feel the solid presence of the building itself, this structure that has sheltered sleepers for generations. Your chest rises and falls with the fountain's rhythm, each breath drawing you deeper into the futon's embrace. Fill with the inhale, feeling your ribs expand gently. Tip with the exhale, releasing into the support beneath you. Rest in the silence between. That quiet pause, where nothing is required of you. The rhythm is so natural now that your body follows it without thought, each cycle carrying you further from the day's concerns. The building begins to speak as it cools from the day. Small creaks and settling sounds, the conversation of wood adjusting to temperature changes. These aren't alarming sounds, but comforting ones, like listening to a large, gentle animal breathing. The walls exhale the day's warmth. The roof beams adjust with tiny pops. Somewhere in the walls, wood contracts with a sound like a sigh. Through the open window come the larger sounds of Kyoto at night. A temple bell tolls somewhere distant, its bronze voice rolling across the city like a wave. Then another answers from a different direction, and another, until you realize there's a conversation happening across the darkness. Temples checking in with each other, marking the progress of night. Between the bells, smaller sounds emerge. A dog barks once somewhere distant, a single note in the darkness, then settles back into silence. A night bird calls, 3 notes descending, each one softer than the last. The fountain continues its patient rhythm. Fill, tip, clock. Your breathing has matched it completely now, no longer conscious but simply synchronized, as if you and the fountain have agreed on the proper pace for night breathing. Even the bamboo seems to breathe with this rhythm, rustling on the inhale, settling on the exhale. The incense has burned down to almost nothing, just the faintest thread of smoke still rising. Its scent has permeated everything, the air, the bedding, your clothes, your hair. Tomorrow you'll carry this scent with you, an invisible reminder of this night, this room, this gentle pause in time. Your body feels heavy and light simultaneously, heavy where it touches the futon, sinking into complete support, light everywhere else, as if the boundaries between you and the air have begun to dissolve. Your feet are warm under the coverlet. Your hands rest at your sides, palms up, fingers gently curved. Your face is cool from the night air through the window. The fountain marks another cycle. Fill, tip, clock. The bamboo rustles. A single beam of moonlight falls across the tatami like a silver path. You watch it without watching, aware without attention, present without effort. The sounds begin to blend. Fountain, bamboo, distant traffic, your own breathing, the buildings settling. They weave together into something that isn't quite music, but has music's ability to carry consciousness. Each sound supports the others, no single element dominant, all of it creating a tapestry of night that wraps around you as surely as the coverlet. Your eyes close, not from decision but from completion. There's nothing more to see, nothing more to notice. Everything necessary is here. Shelter, warmth, the rhythm of water, the conversation of temples, the patient presence of wood and tatami that have supported countless other travelers into sleep. A wordless awareness of rightness settles over you, of being exactly where you need to be. This too begins to fade, leaving only the fountain's rhythm, the building's breath, and the vast, peaceful darkness that receives everything, judges nothing, and carries you gently forward into dreams. The fountain marks another cycle. Fill, tip, clock. And another, and another. Each one softer, more distant, dissolving into the endless rhythm of night. The last thing you're aware of is the feeling of being held by the futon, by the building, by the night itself. Held without grasping, supported without effort, carried without movement. The fountain continues its ancient conversation with time. The bamboo whispers secrets to the darkness. And you rest here, perfectly balanced between waking and sleeping, between one breath and the next, dissolving gently into the embrace of 1,000 years of peaceful nights.